The jungle was thick and alive with sound. Birds cried from the trees. Insects buzzed in the warm air, and the ground was covered with roots and vines that seemed to fight every step. Ravi walked at the front of the small group of explorers, his boots sinking into the damp earth. He wiped sweat from his face and looked at the map again. The map was old, copied from a stone tablet that a farmer had found years ago. It spoke of a hidden temple deep inside the jungle, a place where a great king once ruled. Behind Ravi, 3 others followed. Aaron carried most of the supplies and was the strongest of them. Lila was quiet but sharp, always watching the details others missed. Then there was Nomi, who kept a camera ready to record everything. Together they had traveled for days, following rivers and climbing hills, always guided by the strange symbols on the map. Ravi felt something pushing him forward. It was not just curiosity. He had studied ancient cultures for many years, but something about this map was different. The lines carved into the stone tablet seemed to call to him, as if they wanted him to find the truth. He did not tell the others about this feeling. He only said that the temple might contain objects that could rewrite history. That was reason enough for them to come. As the sun began to fall, they reached a clearing. Vines hung from a great wall of stone half hidden by trees. At first it looked like part of the jungle, but as they came closer they saw shapes carved into the surface. Figures of warriors stood tall, holding spears, their faces proud. At the center was the image of a man wearing a golden mask. His eyes were wide and his hands were raised as if calling to the sky. "This is it," Ravi said softly. They cut through the vines and found an entrance blocked by fallen stones. Aaron pushed them aside with effort, and soon they stepped into the dark passage beyond. The air inside was cooler but heavy, filled with the smell of earth and age. Their lights cut through the dark, showing walls covered in carvings. The carvings told a story. They showed villages, harvests, and people giving respect to the king with the golden mask. Then the pictures changed. Strange shapes appeared in the sky. They were not birds or clouds. They looked like machines, round and glowing. The king stood against them, holding his spear high, while his people gathered behind him. Lila traced the carvings with her fingers. "These are not normal stories. They show something different, something from outside." Ravi nodded. He had thought the same thing. It was as if the ancient people had recorded a battle not with men, but with visitors from beyond the stars. The passage opened into a wide chamber. At its center stood a stone throne, and on it lay the golden mask. Time had not touched it. It shone even in the weak light of their lamps. The mask was shaped like a human face, but smoother, sharper, with lines that seemed almost alive. The eyes were dark, yet they seemed to watch every move. Nomi lifted the camera, but her hands shook. "It feels strange here," she whispered. Ravi walked slowly to the mask. His heart beat faster with every step. He felt as if the air grew warmer, as if the mask knew he was near. He stopped just before the throne and stared. The stories on the wall showed this very mask, placed on the king's face as he led his warriors. Ravi could almost hear the sound of drums and cries of battle, as if the chamber itself remembered. Aaron spoke, his voice uneasy. "Should we touch it?" "Maybe we should not," Ravi hesitated. He knew that in many stories treasures were cursed, and objects of power were best left alone. Yet something inside told him this was not just gold. It was more. It was the key to understanding why the king had been remembered not as a man but as a protector. He reached out his hand. The mask glowed faintly just for a second, then returned to stillness. Ravi pulled his hand back quickly, but his heart leapt. He had felt a hum, like a soft current of energy moving through his skin. The others stepped closer, whispering. Lila's eyes were wide. "It reacted to you." Ravi tried to speak calmly, though his voice was unsteady. "This mask may be more than history. It may hold something from beyond this world." They stood in silence, each thinking about what they had just seen. Outside, the jungle called with its endless sounds, but inside the chamber, there was only the golden mask and the weight of forgotten time. Ravi looked again at the carvings. The king had fought not only men but beings from the sky. And here was the mask, untouched, waiting. He felt that the journey had only begun. Whatever truth lay behind this mask, it was greater than he had ever imagined. The chamber was quiet, but Ravi felt the silence was not empty. It was heavy, as if the walls themselves carried voices from long ago. The golden mask rested on the throne, glowing faintly as if it still held the breath of the warrior king. Ravi could not take his eyes away. The others gathered behind him. Nomi lifted her camera again, trying to steady her hand. She wanted to capture every detail, but her mind told her that this moment was more than history. Lila was still tracing the carvings on the wall, following the lines that showed the strange machines in the sky. Aaron stood near the entrance, keeping watch. Though he kept glancing nervously at the mask, Ravi took a slow breath. His fingers itched to touch it again. The first time he had felt the faint hum, a current that had surprised him. He wondered if it would happen again, or if it had been only his imagination. Slowly, carefully, he stretched out his hand once more. The moment his skin brushed the cool surface, the mask answered. Light spread from it, running in thin streams along the carvings on the throne. The walls began to shift. Stones that had been still for centuries moved as if alive. Dust fell from the ceiling as patterns glowed on the walls. "Step back," Aaron shouted, pulling Lila away from the wall. But Ravi could not step back. The mask held him. It was not painful, but it was powerful, like standing in the center of a storm. His vision blurred, and in front of him shapes appeared, stars, planets, and lines connecting them. It was a map of the sky, yet unlike any he had ever seen. The stars were not just symbols. They moved, shone, and pulsed as if alive. The others watched in awe. "It is a star chart," Lila whispered. Nomi kept her camera up, but the bright glow nearly blinded the lens. "It is not just a chart," she said. "It is showing something alive, something real." Ravi could feel it deep inside. The mask was not only showing stars. It was pointing somewhere. He saw a cluster of lights far away, brighter than the rest. Lines stretched from Earth toward that place as if marking a path. Then his vision shifted again. He saw the warrior king himself. The king stood tall, wearing the same mask, raising his spear against towering figures of light. Behind him, his people fought bravely. The vision was so strong Ravi almost believed he could hear the cries of battle. Then the vision faded and Ravi staggered back, pulling his hand away. The glow on the wall softened, but the carvings had changed. Where once they had been plain stone, now they shone with golden lines. The map of the stars was clear for all to see, cut into the rock as if newly made. Aaron stepped closer, staring at it. "This is not possible. Stone cannot change like this." Ravi's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. It was always here, hidden. The mask opened it. Lila shook her head slowly, her voice trembling. "If this is real, the Mayans had knowledge of the stars beyond anything we understand. This is not only history, it is something greater." The group stood in silence, each lost in thought. They had come to find a forgotten temple, maybe a treasure or artifact. But what they had found was far more. The mask had revealed something alive, something that stretched beyond Earth. Ravi felt the pull again, the same feeling that had led him here. It was stronger now, as if the mask itself was calling him forward, urging him to follow the map. Nomi lowered her camera at last. "If this is a map, it is not meant for us. Who would it be meant for?" Ravi's eyes moved to the mask. Maybe for the king. Maybe for anyone chosen after him. Maybe for us. They did not notice at first that the mask was glowing again, softer this time, like a heart beating. Outside the chamber, far beyond the jungle, the signal had already left Earth. Invisible waves spread into the sky, racing past the clouds, past the moon, and into the deep silence of space. In a faraway part of the universe, machines picked up the call. A fleet of alien ships stirred, their sensors alive. For them, the golden mask was not forgotten. It was feared. They had fought against it long ago, and the memory of their defeat was carved into their history. The signal meant only one thing. The mask had awakened again, and with it the spirit of human resistance. Back inside the chamber, Ravi and his team began to plan how to study what they had found. Lila wanted to copy the star map. Nomi wanted to record every detail. Aaron wanted to leave the mask where it was, afraid of what might come. But Ravi stood quiet, looking at the throne and the mask that now seemed alive. He did not know about the signal or the fleet of ships that had already begun to move. But he did know one thing. His life, and perhaps all of Earth, would never be the same again. The mask had chosen to awaken, and it had chosen him to see. Far away from Earth, in the deep black of space, a fleet of ships floated in silence. They were not built by human hands. Their bodies were sharp and silver, like blades cutting through the dark. They had waited for centuries, hidden among the stars, carrying memories of an old war. When the golden mask sent out its pulse, the fleet awoke. Lights flared along the sides of the ships, and engines that had been cold for ages began to glow once more. Inside the largest ship, the commander of the fleet stood tall. His name was Vorak, and his people were known for their pride in battle. He had studied history since his youth, and among those records there was one story that filled his kind with both anger and shame. It was the story of the warrior king from Earth, the man who had worn the golden mask. The king had fought them long ago, turning their great invasion into defeat. Vorak's eyes narrowed as reports came in. The mask has awakened. Earth is alive with its power again. Around him, his officers shifted uneasily. They remembered the tales their ancestors had passed down. To their people, the mask was not just an object. It was a symbol of a battle they had almost lost completely. They had left Earth untouched after that war, fearing that humans, though young, carried something dangerous inside them, something the mask had revealed. One officer spoke. "Commander, if the mask has returned, then humanity may rise again as they did before. We cannot allow it," Vorak nodded slowly. "This time we will not wait. We will strike before they grow strong. The mask belongs to us, and this time it will not escape." The fleet began to move, slipping through the dark between stars. Silent engines carried them toward the blue planet that had once shamed them. On Earth, Ravi and his team had no knowledge of what had begun in the skies above. They sat near the temple, resting after hours of work. The jungle night surrounded them with its endless sounds, frogs, birds, and the whisper of wind through trees. But even with the normal sounds of life, Ravi felt a strange weight in the air. He looked at the mask, still resting on the throne. The glow had faded, but he knew it was not asleep. It was waiting. His thoughts returned again and again to the vision of the warrior king. The king had fought beings from the sky, the same ones shown on the carvings. Ravi wondered if they were real or only symbols, but the hum of power he had felt told him they were real. Lila sat beside him, copying the star map carefully into her notebook. Her hand was steady, but her voice was soft. "These stars, they are too precise. This is not the work of imagination. Whoever made this map had knowledge of the heavens we still struggle to understand." Aaron frowned. He had been silent for most of the night, sharpening a tool by the fire. At last he spoke. "Then maybe we should leave it here. This mask is not for us. It belongs to the past." Nomi shook her head. "If it belongs to the past, why did it awaken now? Something called to us. Or maybe it is calling for something else." Her words made Ravi uneasy. He thought again of the glow, the way it had spread like fire through the carvings. What if the mask had not only shown them the stars? What if it had sent something into them, something that had gone beyond Earth? He tried to calm himself. "Whatever it is, we must learn. Knowledge is our tool. Fear will not help." The group fell silent again. Only the jungle spoke, and even that seemed quieter than before. Far beyond the jungle sky, the alien fleet continued its journey. Inside his ship, Vorak prepared his warriors. They moved through the halls in perfect order, each one armed with weapons forged for conquest. Their eyes burned with the memory of their ancestors' defeat. Vorak stood before them and raised his voice. "Long ago we faced a world that should have been weak. But a single man with a mask of power turned our victory into retreat. That shame has lasted for ages. Now the mask has returned. It has awakened among humans again. This is our chance to end the story. This time Earth will not rise." A roar of approval filled the ship. The warriors were ready. Vorak turned his gaze to the stars ahead. The blue planet grew brighter on their screens, small but full of life. He clenched his fist. "The humans will learn that we do not forget, and the mask will be ours." Back on Earth, Ravi dreamed uneasily by the fire. In his dream, the warrior king appeared once more. The king stood on a battlefield of stone, the mask shining on his face. Around him, the sky filled with strange ships. He turned to Ravi and raised his hand as if passing something unseen. Ravi woke with a start, his heart racing. He looked at the mask in the throne, silent and still. But he knew the dream was not only a dream. It was a warning. Something was coming. The sun rose over the jungle, spilling golden light across the trees. Mist hung in the air, and the ground was wet with dew. Ravi stood at the temple entrance, staring at the golden mask still resting on the throne inside. The glow had faded, but he felt its energy even from a distance. He had slept only a little, his mind filled with dreams of the warrior king and battles under strange skies. Lila joined him, her notebook in her hand. She had stayed up copying the star map until her fingers ached. I compared the stars with our charts, she said softly. The map points to a place beyond our reach, but the lines that connect Earth to it, they are clear. Whoever made this map wanted us to know about them. Ravi nodded. The mask does not just show the past. It shows the path to something greater. I feel it is more than a relic. It is a message. Aaron walked up with his pack on his shoulders. His face was hard, his eyes sharp. Or it is a danger. You speak of messages and paths, but you do not ask if we should follow them. Sometimes the past should remain buried. Before Ravi could answer, a sudden flash lit the sky. It was not lightning. The morning was clear, and no storm had formed. Yet a bright streak tore across the clouds, leaving a burning trail behind it. The sound came next, a deep roar that shook the air. Nomi ran from the camp, her camera raised. It is not a meteor. Look at its shape. It is slowing down. The four of them watched as the streak grew larger. Then it broke into several smaller lights, each moving with purpose. They curved across the horizon before vanishing into the jungle beyond. Ravi felt his heart pound. He knew without doubt, they have come. The ground trembled as something heavy landed miles away. Trees shook and birds scattered in fear. In the deep jungle, one of the alien ships settled, its silver hull gleaming. Strange machines unfolded from its sides, scanning the area with beams of pale light. The aliens stepped out, tall and strong, their armor shining like metal. Their movements were sharp, their eyes cold. They had not come to explore. They had come to hunt. At the temple, Ravi and his team prepared quickly. Aaron wanted to leave at once to escape deeper into the jungle, but Ravi stood firm. We cannot run. They are searching for this mask. If we leave it, they will find it. And if they take it, Earth may face the same war that the king fought long ago. Lila placed her hand on the carvings. The king fought them with the mask. Maybe that is why it awakened for you. It knew they would return. Nomi lowered her camera and looked at Ravi. Then the question is, are you ready to do what he did? Ravi did not answer. His eyes turned to the golden mask. He felt it waiting, as if it knew his choice before he spoke it. That night, the jungle grew restless. Strange sounds echoed through the trees, sharp clicks, deep hums, and the heavy steps of machines. The explorers stayed inside the temple, listening as the noises came closer. At times they saw beams of pale light sweep across the trees outside, searching. Ravi sat near the throne, staring at the mask. His chest was tight with both fear and determination. He reached out and placed his hand on it again. The mask glowed and visions filled his mind. He saw the warrior king once more standing at the same temple, surrounded by his people. The sky was alive with enemy ships. The king raised the mask and a golden shield of energy spread across the temple, protecting it from attack. Then Ravi saw the king fighting in the jungle, using not only weapons but also traps, clever paths, and the strength of his people. The vision faded, leaving only a single thought in Ravi's mind. The mask is not treasure. It is a tool of defense. He pulled his hand back, breathing fast. The glow faded, but the message remained. He understood now why the mask had awakened for him. It carried the memory of the king, waiting for someone to rise again. Outside, the aliens grew closer. Their commander, Vorak, led them through the jungle. He studied the tracks of humans, sharp eyes catching every broken branch and footprint. The mask is near, he said, his voice calm but firm. Do not harm it. But if the humans resist, remove them. His warriors bowed their heads and continued forward, their machines clearing paths through the thick vines. They were patient hunters, but their eyes burned with hunger for revenge. Inside the temple, Ravi told the others what he had seen. His words were steady, though his heart raced. The mask is not just gold. It holds power, a shield, and the knowledge of the king. If we leave it, they will use it against us. If we protect it, we may stand a chance. Aaron clenched his fists. We are only 4 people. They are many with machines we cannot match. But the king was one man, Lila said, and he turned the tide of war. Silence followed. They all looked at Ravi, waiting. He did not feel like a leader, but the mask had chosen him, and deep inside he knew the choice had already been made. He stood before the throne and lifted the mask in both hands. Its surface gleamed in the firelight, alive with power. He felt it hum through his skin, steady and strong. The spirit of the warrior king seemed to stand behind him, unseen but real. Ravi raised his voice. If they want the mask, they will have to face us first. The jungle night was heavy with silence. Only the crack of branches and the distant hum of machines broke the still air. Ravi stood at the entrance of the temple, the golden mask in his hands. It was cold and smooth, but beneath its surface he felt a steady pulse like the beat of a heart. The others stood close behind him, waiting for his decision. At last he lifted the mask and placed it on his face. For a moment there was only darkness. Then light rushed across his vision. The jungle around him was clearer than ever before. He could see the glow of heat where animals hid, the faint shimmer of energy where the alien machines moved through the trees. His body felt lighter, his breath steadier. The mask was not only a shield, it was strength. Lila stared at him, her voice trembling. "Your eyes, they shine like gold." Ravi turned to them. His voice carried an echo, deep and commanding. "The mask has chosen. Now we must fight as the king once did." Aaron tightened his grip on a spear he had carved from strong wood. He was afraid, but Ravi's words gave him courage. Nomi lifted her camera for only a second, then set it aside.
"No one will believe this unless we survive," she said.
"So survival is our proof." The first attack came quickly. From the dark trees, beams of pale light shot forward, cutting into the stone walls of the temple. The ground shook as one of the alien machines moved closer, its legs pounding like drums. It was taller than the temple itself, its silver body gleaming even in the night. Ravi raised his hand and the mask responded. A golden shield spread outward, covering the temple like a dome. The alien beam struck the shield, but instead of breaking it, the light bent and scattered into sparks. The others gasped, their fear turning into awe. Aaron shouted, "It works! The mask is protecting us." But Ravi knew the shield would not last forever. He lowered it just enough for them to move, and then he led the group into the jungle. The alien machine followed, its steps shaking the ground. Ravi's vision guided him, showing weak points glowing on its legs. "Now!" he cried. Aaron hurled his spear with all his strength. The wooden weapon struck the glowing joint, and though it did not break the machine, it made the giant stumble. The forest itself seemed to help them, roots catching the machine's heavy feet. Ravi used the moment to unleash another golden wave from the mask. The wave struck the machine, sending it crashing against the trees. More aliens came, tall and armored. Their weapons fired beams of white fire, cutting through leaves and branches. Ravi darted forward, his body moving faster than before. He struck the ground with his hand, and golden light spread into the earth. Roots shot upward, wrapping around the alien's legs. Lila and Nomi threw rocks and burning branches, small weapons compared to alien fire, yet enough to distract them. Ravi struck again with the mask's power, forcing the enemy back. The aliens were skilled, but they were not prepared for the jungle. Traps set by the explorers slowed them down. Pits covered with branches, sharp stakes hidden under leaves, vines tied to pull down heavy logs. Every trick of the land became a weapon. The mask seemed to guide Ravi, showing him where to strike and when to move. The battle raged through the night. Golden light clashed with silver armor. The cries of humans mixed with the cold shouts of aliens. The jungle burned in places, but it also fought back, closing around the invaders. At last the commander himself entered the fight. Vorak stepped from the trees, his tall figure covered in shining armor. His weapon glowed with a pale fire that hissed against the night. His eyes locked on Ravi, and his voice was filled with fury. "So it is true," Vorak said. "The mask lives again. The last time it brought shame to my people. This time it will be broken." Ravi faced him, the golden mask glowing brighter than ever. "This mask is not yours. It belongs to Earth. You will not take it." Vorak raised his weapon, and Ravi raised his hand. The clash between them sent a shockwave through the jungle, shaking trees and scattering leaves. Golden light and pale fire struck together, filling the night with a storm of power. The others watched in silence, their hearts racing. They knew this was more than a battle for survival. It was a battle for the future of their world. The fight pushed Ravi to his limits. Every strike from Vorak's weapon felt like thunder. But the mask gave him strength he had never known. He moved faster, his strikes sharper, his shield stronger, and as he fought, he felt the spirit of the warrior king within him, guiding his every move. At last, Ravi struck a final blow, sending Vorak crashing against a fallen tree. The commander rose slowly, his eyes filled with rage but also with fear. For the first time, he realized the truth his people had always tried to deny. Humans were not weak. With courage and the mask, they could not be broken. Vorak retreated into the shadows, his warriors following. The jungle grew quiet once more, broken only by the heavy breaths of Ravi and his team. They stood together in the clearing, their bodies weary but their spirits burning bright. The mask glowed softly as if proud of their stand. Ravi looked at the sky. The fight is not over. They will return. But we have shown them that Earth will not fall. And in the silence of the jungle, the golden mask shone like the light of a rising dawn. The jungle was silent after the long night of battle. Broken branches lay scattered. Smoke rose from burned trees, and the ground was marked with heavy footprints of machines. Ravi stood in the middle of the clearing, the golden mask still glowing on his face. The others gathered around him, their bodies tired but their hearts strong. Aaron whispered, "We won, at least for now." But Ravi shook his head. He felt the mask still pulsing with heat as if warning him. They are not finished. Vorak will return. The real battle is still ahead. Lila sat on a stone holding a torch in her hand. Her voice was steady, though her eyes showed fear. Then we prepare. If the mask chose you, it will not fail you, and we will not fail you either. Nomi placed her hand on the temple wall as if trying to feel the power of the place. The mask wants something more. It feels like it is not only a weapon. It is also a key. Ravi looked toward the ancient temple. The carvings on its walls seemed to shine in the faint light of dawn. He felt a call deep inside his chest, guiding him toward the heart of the temple. As the sun rose, the explorers followed Ravi into the temple once again. The air inside was cool and heavy, filled with the smell of stone and earth. They passed old chambers and stairways until they reached a hidden hall they had never seen before. The golden mask glowed brighter in the dark, and suddenly the walls themselves lit up with symbols. The carvings told a story. They showed the warrior king wearing the mask, standing against creatures of fire and metal. The pictures showed him leading his people, not only with strength but with wisdom. Then came the final carving, the king raising the mask high, light spreading from it across the land. Aaron touched the wall. The mask was not just a weapon, it was a promise. The king gave his life so his people could live. Ravi's heart beat faster. He understood now. The mask carried not only power but also responsibility. It demanded courage, sacrifice, and leadership. Before they could speak more, the ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Outside, a deep roar echoed through the jungle. Vorak had returned, and this time he did not come alone. The group rushed back outside. Across the clearing, the alien commander stood with a new army. The machines behind him were larger than before, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. His armor shone in the morning light, and his voice carried across the battlefield. "This is your last chance," Vorak declared. "Give me the mask and I will leave your world in peace." Ravi stepped forward, the mask glowing bright. "This world is not yours to take. If you want the mask, then you must face me." Vorak raised his weapon and his army prepared to strike. But Ravi lifted his hand and golden light spread across the jungle. The vines tightened around the machines. The trees bent forward like shields and the earth itself trembled. The mask connected him not only to the king's spirit but also to the land. The jungle was alive and it stood with him. The battle began with fury. Alien beams of fire clashed against golden shields. Machines fell as roots broke their legs. Ravi moved with speed, striking with blasts of light, guiding his friends to safety. Lila threw fire into the machine's weak points. Aaron fought with his spear, brave even against armored giants. Nomi used her clever mind to trigger traps that caught enemies by surprise. But Vorak pushed through everything, his weapon cutting through trees and stone. He moved straight toward Ravi, determined to claim the mask. The two clashed in the center of the clearing. Golden light met pale fire, and the air shook with the force of their strikes. Vorak was strong, his weapon crafted with alien power, but Ravi carried more than strength. He carried the spirit of the warrior king and the courage of his people. The fight raged on. Vorak's blows shook Ravi's arms, but the mask gave him endurance. Every time Ravi fell, the mask lifted him again. Every time the enemy struck harder, the mask answered with brighter light. At last, Vorak raised his weapon for a final strike. "Your strength is nothing against my people," he shouted. But Ravi answered calmly, his voice steady. "My strength is not mine alone. It belongs to the king, to my friends, and to Earth itself." He raised both hands and the mask released a flood of golden light. The jungle blazed with brightness. The machines collapsed, their bodies breaking under the force. The aliens cried out as the light pushed them back. And Vorak himself was thrown to the ground, his weapon shattered, his armor cracked. Silence fell. The enemy forces lay defeated, their commander broken. Vorak tried to rise, but the mask's power held him down. For the first time, he looked at Ravi not with anger, but with respect. "You are stronger than I believed," Vorak said. His voice was weak, his pride wounded. "Perhaps your people are not as weak as we thought." Ravi lowered his hand, his eyes still glowing through the mask. "Leave this world, Vorak, take your army and never return. If you do, the mask will rise again and you will face us once more." Vorak stared for a long moment, then signaled to his warriors. Slowly, they withdrew into the forest, vanishing into the shadows from which they came. The jungle grew calm again. The fires dimmed, the smoke cleared, and the air was filled only with the sound of birds beginning their morning songs. Ravi removed the mask and held it in his hands. Its glow faded, but its power remained inside him. Lila stepped forward, her eyes shining. "You did it. You saved us." Ravi shook his head. "We all did it. The mask gave us strength, but it was our courage together that won this day." Aaron smiled, tired but proud. The warrior king would be proud. Nomi lifted her camera at last, taking one picture of the mask and the temple behind it. "Now the world will know. Not just the story of the king, but also the story of us." Ravi looked at the rising sun. He knew the mask was more than a relic. It was a promise that Earth would always rise against those who tried to take its freedom, and now that promise lived in them. The morning after the final battle was calm. The jungle, which only hours ago shook with fire and thunder, now breathed in peace. Sunlight fell through the leaves, shining on the broken machines left behind by the aliens. Birds sang again, and the river nearby carried the sound of running water as if washing away the memory of war. Ravi stood quietly near the ancient temple, holding the golden mask in his hands. Its glow had dimmed after the fight, but it still felt warm, like a living heart. He stared at its surface, carved with patterns of the warrior king, and felt both pride and weight. Lila joined him, her steps light, but her face serious. "The mask saved us, but it also brought danger. What will you do now, Ravi?" Ravi did not answer at once. He looked at the jungle, then at his friends who rested nearby. Aaron sat sharpening his spear even though the battle was over. Nomi carefully checked her notes and sketches, her eyes bright with curiosity even after such a long night. They all carried strength, but they also carried scars that no one could see. Finally, Ravi said, "The mask does not belong to me. It belongs here. It was made to protect, not to rule. If I keep it, more enemies will come. If I return it to the temple, it will rest until Earth needs it again." Lila nodded. "Then that is what we will do." As the group entered the temple again, the air seemed different. The walls glowed faintly as if recognizing their choice. They reached the throne chamber where the carvings of the king were carved into stone. Ravi stepped forward, holding the mask with both hands. He placed it gently on the throne, exactly where they had found it. At that moment, light spread across the walls, brighter than ever before. The carvings moved as if alive, showing the king's face smiling with pride. For a brief second, Ravi felt the king's spirit beside him. A voice, soft yet powerful, filled his mind. "You honored the promise. You stood as I once stood. The mask is safe, and so is your world. Remember this, human courage is stronger than any weapon." The light slowly faded, leaving the temple quiet once more. Ravi stepped back, feeling a deep calm inside him. He no longer needed the mask to feel strong. Outside, the jungle continued to heal. Smoke rose in thin lines from burned places, but new shoots of green were already pushing through the soil. Life was returning. The explorers gathered their belongings, ready to leave the site. Aaron looked at Ravi. "Do you think the aliens will return?" Ravi tightened his grip on his bag. "Maybe one day. But if they do, we will be ready. And the mask will wait for the one who needs it." Nomi smiled softly. "And we will tell this story. People must know the truth of what happened here, not just about the mask, but about us, that we faced the unknown and stood together." Lila added, "If the world learns, maybe next time humanity will stand united." Ravi nodded. He felt their words like a seed planted in his heart. The mask was not only a relic of the past, but a guide for the future. The journey back through the jungle was long, but it felt lighter now. The explorers walked together, helping one another across rivers and cliffs. Every sound of the jungle no longer felt like a threat, but a reminder of life's strength. One evening, as they rested under the stars, Ravi looked at the sky. The stars shone brighter than he remembered, and he wondered if somewhere beyond them, Vorak and his people watched. Perhaps they now carried respect for Earth. Or perhaps they planned their return. Whatever the truth, Ravi no longer felt fear. He knew that Earth had proven itself once and would do so again. Aaron broke the silence. Ravi, if you had to wear the mask again, would you? Ravi smiled faintly. If the time comes, yes. But I hope it never has to be me. I hope the mask will guide someone new, someone who will carry its light as I carried it. The group fell asleep under the stars, comforted by the knowledge that they had changed history. When they finally reached the edge of the jungle, the modern world awaited them. Towns, cities, and people who had no idea of the battle that had taken place only days before. To most of the world, it was just another quiet day. Nomi carried her notes close, ready to share her findings when the time was right. Lila carried small pieces of broken metal from the alien machines, proof of what they had faced. Aaron carried his spear, though now it felt more like a symbol than a weapon. Ravi carried nothing but the memory of the mask, which was enough. As they stepped onto the road back to their lives, Ravi turned once more to look at the jungle behind him. He whispered softly, "Thank you, King. Your spirit lives on." That night, far away in the stars, a council of alien leaders received Vorak's report. He admitted his defeat, speaking of the courage of humans. Some of the leaders laughed, some doubted, but a few grew cautious. They realized that Earth, though young among the stars, was not weak. A new respect for humanity began to grow in distant galaxies, and so the story of the Golden Mask did not end in silence. It traveled beyond Earth, carried in whispers and reports, as a reminder that humans, though small in number, could rise like giants when protecting their world. For Ravi and his friends, life returned to normal, but their hearts were never the same. They had seen the truth of humanity's place in the universe. They knew that courage, unity, and hope were greater than fear. The mask remained in the temple, waiting for the next guardian. And the jungle, ancient and watchful, kept its secret safe. Humanity was ready for the future, for whatever might come. And the spirit of the warrior king would always rise again when Earth called.